What's going on, sports fans? Welcome back to KFR Sportscast, and you got it rolling with the BG's pick of the weeks. And this year, we're going to make it bigger and better than ever. And you know what? I'm excited for this upcoming season. It's been so long since we've had any sports, and week one is creeping up just around the corner. So let's go ahead and get right into it with BG's picks of the week. Alright guys, listen, it's been a great offseason. It's been fantastic. I've been loving all of the moves and everything that have been going around in the NFL. So let's go ahead and get right into it with week one of the 2025-2026 season. And we are kicking things off so strong with Dallas going into Philadelphia to play the defending champs, the Philadelphia Eagles. All right, so if you guys want to follow along with me on a week-to-week basis and have a chance to win up to $100,000, you can follow the link below to my ESPN group for BG's picks of the week. Again, I'll be doing this on a week-to-week basis, and so you can follow along and see if you can do better than me on these picks. So make sure that you follow along because it's going to be fun. And again, so according to ESPN, so there are 57 prizes to be won this year worth $100,000 across 3 game modes: standard, spread, and confidence. So make your picks in all 18 weeks to be eligible to win a $10K bonus prize. For me, you're going to do 1 entry for your chance of winning. In this game, big news for this game, right? So let's look at some of the stats for here. So odds by ESPN Bet is that the line... So the spread is going to be a favorite to Philadelphia at 7.5. The over-under is going to be 47.5 for this game. So looking into this game, obviously the biggest news, right? Defending champions hosting their division rival, and then also their division rival going out and getting rid of one of the best, if not the best, player on their team in Micah Parsons. As we all know, Micah Parsons goes out. He joins the Green Bay Packers for 2 first-rounders and a guy that I can't even remember the name of off the top of my head. So basically, Philly fans, and you've probably seen it and heard it, Philly fans are like, thank you, Jerry Jones. Continue to do exactly what you're doing. But in this game, I have the Philadelphia Eagles. I think this is going to be a great score or a great game for Philly to kind of make a statement as off of that championship from last year. So go ahead and give me Philadelphia. They will easily cover that 7.5 point spread. As far as the over-under, Philly may be able to score 40 points on their own, but we'll see. All right, the next game up that we have is the Kansas City Chiefs playing the Los Angeles Chargers, who are going to be playing Friday on the 5th, and that's going to be in São Paulo, Brazil. So last year, the Eagles and the Packers played in Brazil. This year, it's going to be the Kansas City Chiefs and the Chargers. So odds by ESPN have this game right now at Kansas City at a 3.5 point favorite, spread being 44.5. So with this game, I think Kansas City last year got off to a really slow start. In this, about 79% of people are picking Kansas City. I'm picking the Los Angeles Chargers. I think off slow again. And again, this is one of those things where it's kind of neutral territory, but I think the Chargers have what it takes. Again, they did lose Bosa. No, they still have Joey Bosa. Nick Bosa. Never mind. Nick Bosa went to Buffalo. But they get Keenan Allen back, right? Keenan Allen comes back home. The Kansas City Chiefs, they are engulfed in possibly losing, if they haven't already, Rashid Rice for a suspension. So there's just a lot of issues hanging around the Kansas City Chiefs. And, say what you will. If you call me a hater, that's fine. But I think the Chiefs lose this game. I think it's going to be by about 3, just still because it's a divisional game. I think the Chargers take this game by 3 points. All right, the next game up, yours truly game. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers going into Atlanta to play the Falcons. Now, last year, the Falcons swept us. And, both games very electric. The first game, or the game last year in Atlanta, they took us in overtime. Just a complete shootout. We're going to get Michael Penix Jr. starting this game for the Atlanta Falcons. ESPN Bet odds have this game at a 2.5 point favorite for Tampa Bay and a 47.5 over-under for the game. This is going to be a shootout. I think I'm going to pick Tampa Bay. This is going to be a homer pick. I'm I'm going to pick Tampa Bay. Michael Penix Jr. did look good when he was out there in place of Kirk Cousins. So I think he will do a good job. I just think even though we lost those 2 games last year, I think the adjustments that we made with our defense in the offseason, I think be a big game for us to really make a statement coming into the new year. So give me the Tampa Bay Buccaneers by 7. All right, the next game that we got is the Cincinnati Bengals going into Cleveland to play the divisional rival Cleveland Browns. So this should be a no-brainer. I mean, Cleveland is a mess. Cincinnati last year, very high-powered offense, right? And that's what you're going to get when you have Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow, T. Higgins. So this is kind of an easy pick for me. 93% of people went with the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm going to be one of them. The odds by ESPN Bet are a 5.5 point favorite for Cincinnati and a 47.5 over under. I think 47. I could see this going over just because. Well, I could see this going under just because I think Cincinnati is going to probably score most of these points, and I don't know if they're going to score 40. But I could definitely see this being a 30 to 10 game, something like that, like right around the 40-point area, but nothing more than that. So go ahead and give me Cincinnati in a big win. Next game we have is the Miami Dolphins going into Indianapolis to play the Colts. Colts electing to sit Anthony Richardson, start Daniel Jones. This is a big decision because you're taking your first round pick from a couple years ago and benching him for a quarterback that really hasn't shown a whole lot of promise. You really only got 1 good year out of Daniel Jones, so you're kind of putting a lot on him. Miami Dolphins on the flip side of that, right? Tua, which one's going to show up? Is it going to be concussion Tua? Is it going to be decent Tua? What QB are we going to get here? So, but I think this is a winnable game for Miami. ESPN has this at a 1.5 point favorite, so they have this at a very close. And they have 1.5 point favorite actually for Indianapolis, and they have it at a 47.5 point over under. I think that is going under all the way, and I'm going to take Miami in this game. I'd say they win by more than 1. All right, next up we got is the Las Vegas Raiders going into the New England Patriots. And Patriots this year are a sleeper this year. I think Mike Vrabel is going to kind of turn this franchise around. I'm not going to say he's Bill Belichick by any means, but I think he's definitely made for the Patriots. I think this is exactly kind of what the Patriots need. As far as the picks go, this is a 50-50 split almost between fan bases or between people who are picking. ESPN has this at a 2.5 point favorite for New England, while having a 43.5 points over under. So I think Drake May, this is going to be a big year and a big test for him. But I think Vrabel is going to be a great coach in New England. So I'm going to take New England here by 7. All right, next up we got the Arizona Cardinals going into the New Orleans Saints. This is something that, I don't think the Saints are kind of like Cleveland to me. And this is not because I am biased against them, but they are not good. Your best player is a defensive player in Cam Jordan. So there's a lot to figure out here. The QB situation of who's going to start. Is it Spencer Rattler? Is it going to be Tyler Slow? What do you do here? So I think this is going to be a big year for Marvin Harrison Jr. We've seen the picture, definitely beefed up, but this is going to be a big test for Kyler Murray because Kyler Murray has been so up and down with his playing style. I think these are going to be kind of tough decisions maybe that we may see quarterback changing in Arizona soon. Week 1, give me the Arizona Cardinals. ESPN has this game at a 6.5 point favorite for Arizona and a 43.5 point over under. And I think that's pretty good for where this is going to be. I think this is probably going to be an under, definitely. But I would say 6.5. I think Arizona covers that spread. All right, next game up we got is the Pittsburgh Steelers going into the New York Jets. This is kind of a big game that is circled on these two teams' roster, or these two teams' schedule. You have Pittsburgh, who just acquired Aaron Rodgers. They acquired DK Metcalf. They let go of George Pickens. And then you have the Jets, who signed Justin Fields, and they have Garrett Wilson. So this is going to be an because I think these two teams are going to be very evenly matched. Your deciding factor here is probably going to be TJ Watt, and but I feel like the front of the Jets is probably partially decent. They have, so ESPN has this at 2.5 point favorite for the Pittsburgh Steelers and 38.5 over under. I'm going to take the Steelers in this. I think this is 88 to 12% split in favor of the Packers on ESPN. I think that'd be true. But again, Aaron Rodgers, what are we going to get out of him? Are we going to get a glimpse of, like an MVP Green Bay Aaron Rodgers, or are we going to get like first year with the Jets Aaron Rodgers, who played 4 snaps and then tore his Achilles? So I don't know in this as far as like down the road in these two teams' schedules, but right now in this moment, the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to win this game. All right, next up we have another divisional matchup between the Giants and the Washington Commanders. Probably a no-brainer. I'm surprised that there's a 94 to 6% split on this going into the Washington Commanders, and that 6% is probably all Giants fans because they don't want to pick the Commanders. ESPN opens up this game at a 6.5 point favorite for the Washington Commanders and a 45.5 point over/under. I think Washington could put up 45 by themselves on the Giants. QB room in New York is just not great. You have Jackson Dart, you have Jameis Winston, you have Russell Wilson. Jackson Dart looked good during the preseason. Jameis Winston's going to be Jameis Winston. He's probably just there for entertainment. And then you have Russell Wilson, Mr. Unlimited, right? Like Tyrone Tracy, Malik Neighbors, those are going to be your two biggest stars on that team. But Jaden Daniels, he hits like some crazy sophomore slump. Like, it would have to be so drastic where he throws like 3 picks in his first like 3 or 4 possessions. But I'm going to take Washington to take this, and I think they definitely cover that 6.5 point spread. They'll probably win by like 10 or 15 points, 10 or 14 points, somewhere in there, that 2-score area. All right, next up we have the Carolina Panthers going into Jacksonville to play the Jaguars. Bryce Young looked decent, after he kind of got benched last year. So there's some promise and some hope for him. The Jacksonville Jaguars, they draft, Travis Hunter, number 2 overall. But Trevor Lawrence, AFC South. I mean, this is a battle of two teams in 2 divisions that are probably like the worst, the AFC and NFC. So I don't expect much. I'm actually gonna take the Carolina Panthers here, just because of the success that they had toward the season last year. And so Jacksonville opens up as a 3.5 point favorite, and this is a 46.5 over/under according to ESPN. So this is be a game to look out for. I do think Carolina does have what it takes. Yes, they did lose Adam Thielen going back to Minnesota, but I think still they have Chuba Hubbard, a good running back, and I couldn't even tell you a defensive player on Jacksonville except what's his name, if he's even still there, Joshua Allen Hines, if he's even still there. So, but give me Carolina to win this game. All right, before we move on to our next window and our next slate, I'd just like to say a thank you to Dad Gang for sponsoring this episode. You will notice that I have hats such as this one through the season, and Dad Gang makes it possible to represent yourself in fatherhood. If you want to look stylish and really represent what it means to be a dad by, caring and loving for your children, and if you want to look good in style and hats and shirts to represent that style, go to Dad Gang today, click the link below, and you will get 15% off of your order using a code that I am giving to you personally. So thank you, Dad Gang, again for sponsoring this episode and this season of BG's Picks of the Week. All right, moving into our 3 o'clock window. First matchup is going to be the Tennessee Titans going into Mile High to play Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos. This is going to be a great year for Bo Nix. I said it last year. I loved Bo Nix pairing up with Sean Payton, and man, was I not wrong. So Denver Broncos are a 95% picked in this on ESPN, and looking at the spread here, Denver is a 7.5 point favorite, and this is a over/under of 42.5. I definitely think that is absolutely going to happen. I think Denver wins this game by probably 14, by 2 or 3 scores. Tennessee, Cam Ward, it's going to be hard because Cam Ward looked good in college in Miami, but I don't know. He's looked decent in the preseason. Like, he's had some pretty good numbers, but when the lights are on, what's this kid going to look like? So give me Denver to win this game pretty big. All right, next up we have a NFC West, and that is the San Francisco 49ers traveling to the Seattle Seahawks traveling to Seattle to play the Seahawks rather. And this game is San Francisco is 79% picked and 21% for the Seahawks. I am picking the Seahawks in this game. I think Sam Darnold, looked last year, so I think he can kind of build off that. Yes, you lose DK Metcalf. Yes, you lose Tyler Lockett. But I think having Jackson Smith and Jigba is going to be a big part of this team. So opening up, it's San Francisco with a 2.5-point favorite with an over-under of 42.5. But I'm going to take Seattle, and I think they probably win by 3. I will say that. Can't sleep on the San Francisco 49ers because they're pretty hot sometimes. All right, our next game is going to be the Detroit Lions going into Green Bay to play the Green Bay Packers. This game is going to be back and forth for me because this is a game that I was pretty sure that Detroit would win. But now I'm not so sure, and that deciding factor really does come from Green Bay getting Micah Parsons. And it's going to be a struggle. I may change this. As of right now, I have the Detroit Lions. But this is going to be a pick that's going to be up in the air for me over the next couple of days before I really make a solid choice on it. On ESPN, this opens as a Green Bay favorite by 2.5 points and a 47.5 over-under. Green Bay has the youngest team in the NFL, but they did look good in spurts. I mean, there was, they had their ups and downs in learning, but I think Matt LaFleur is going to get them on track, and I really think Jordan Love is a great quarterback in the NFL. Definitely one of the top quarterbacks in the NFC, but there's so many things to factor in here. I think also Aiden Hutchinson is going to be coming back for Detroit, so this is going to be I think this is going to be a low-scoring game. I think this will be very defensive, so I would take the under in this game. I really would, just because of the defenses and how they looked. I mean, the back end of Green Bay's defense was a little shoddy, but I think this year they make up for it. Right now, give me Detroit, but I'm not going to be surprised if Green Bay wins this game. All right, next up we got the last late afternoon game, and that is the Houston Texans going into LA to play the Rams. This has got to be a bounce back year for CJ Stroud. He kind of had a down year last year, and so he's got to really bounce it back. LA losing Cooper Kupp, but gaining Devontae Adams. So can we see if Devontae Adams still has enough left in him to play? You're teaming up with Matthew Stafford, and Matthew Stafford's going to feed you the ball. So, he loves his big targets. Obviously, he had a lot of love with and a lot of success with Megatron. I mean, he had quite a bit of success with Cooper Kupp as well. But I think this is going to be a big year for Puka Nacua and Matthew Stafford and Devontae Adams. But I'm taking Houston in this game, and the spread on this is going to be the LA Rams are a 3.5-point favorite, over under a 43.5. So I could definitely see either way, but I'm going to take Houston on a last-second field goal to win this game by 2. So our Sunday night matchup this week be the Baltimore Ravens and the Buffalo Bills. As you know, these two teams played in the postseason last year, and the Bills only won because Mark Andrews dropped a go-ahead. I believe a touchdown or a 2-point conversion, something along the lines of that. It was very important though. This is really a split game as well, kind of almost 50-50. It's like 56-44% split between the two teams. The edge going to the Buffalo Bills. The ESPN odds has at a 1.5-point line for Buffalo, and it's 50.5. And I do think this could be a very high score. It just depends on what teams show up, but these defense could also step up. Buffalo, a really young team. They're still kind of gathering themselves, but you can't ever count Josh Allen. Lamar Jackson, fantastic quarterback as well. These teams are really going to go at it, and I would honestly take the over in this game. I do think this is going to be a shootout. I could see this being like a 35-38 kind of game. I really could, but I am picking the Baltimore Ravens to win this game. Derrick Henry is going to be the presence for the Baltimore Ravens, and they're going to be hungry this year, and so is Buffalo. So give me the Baltimore Ravens. Finally, our last game of the week, our Monday night matchup, is the Minnesota Vikings going to Chicago to play the Bears. This game opens up as a 1.5-point favorite for the Minnesota Vikings and a 43.5-point spread, or an over-under. Minnesota turning to their pick of the future who got hurt last year in J.J. McCarthy. As I said before, Adam Thielen coming back home to play in Minnesota. And we also have, obviously, Justin Jefferson and Aaron Jones. This is going to be a fun game. Chicago, I don't have a lot of hope for them. They could be a 500 team or maybe just an over 500 team, but it's going to be tough for them. A lot of talk about Caleb Williams being just so selfish and just, kind of all eyes on me and kind of stuff, and that can be very toxic for the locker room. So give me Minnesota to win this. This is an 80-20 split in the favor of the Minnesota Vikings, and I think they do win this game heading back into this season. And then at the end here, tiebreaker. If you're following along with me on tiebreaker, just how many points scored in the Vikings and Bears game, and I put about 45, which I think is right around just over that over under. That does conclude BG Picks of the Week. Again, thank you to Dad Gang for sponsoring this episode. Again, if you want to follow along with me in the ESPN Picks of the Week Pick'ems, go ahead and click the link below. Follow me on all my socials at BrianG_326X. You can also follow our page at KFR Sportscast on YouTube and on Instagram. You can also find us on Facebook. Thank you guys for tuning into this episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. Peace out.